All right, Gamergaters, I'm going to tell you how to defeat the gaming industry. Just don't buy the games. All you have to do. Like, it's kind of crazy, like, being me and being, like, a Nintendo exclusive gamer for the past decade. For those of you who don't know, I stopped playing on other consoles after the PS3 because I realized that, like, Nintendo consoles were superior. When you play everything, you realize that, like, Nintendo consoles are better and you just default to those. So that's what I did through the Wii U generation. I had a blast playing all these great games and was completely unaffected by like the diversification of the gaming industry. Anita came out. She didn't really do anything. DEI became a thing. Didn't really do anything for me. Like companies are getting worse and worse, more and more exploitive, doing more things. None of that affected me whatsoever at all. It was kind of crazy, to be completely honest with you, with everybody like complaining about how games are getting worse and worse and worse. And meanwhile, I'm playing some of the best games ever made. I'm playing The Wonderful 101. I'm playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I'm playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Right? Absolute bangers from start to finish, all for the past decade. Have just been like I've just been bombarded with like nothing but like stellar releases. And I've even discovered like new video game franchises that I love. Like Dragon Quest, like Yeast, like I just get more and more into this stuff. And I have been completely unaffected by woke culture. Why? Because I don't buy the AAA games when they first come out. All you have to do, I think, for basically everyone, is just cut out AAA games entirely. Just don't buy them day one. Demand that they have, like do what you want. They have to like impress you to get you to turn up. Like all you have to do. And yeah, we're starting to see that. Like after an entire decade of like me just bragging about how much better Nintendo consoles are. Like we're finally starting to see other people just kind of back away from modern platforms. Like I think the damage control that people are having now is that people are just playing older games. But what that means specifically is that they're playing older Nintendo games, right? Nobody's playing like Lair or like BioShock or whatever. Like people are playing the good stuff. They're playing like Yoshi's Island and Super Metroid and like Banjo Kazooie, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Sin and Punishment, like all the really good games that are available on Nintendo Switch right now through the subscription service. Like the reality of the situation is that like all the industry's attempts at like ruining the gaming industry have failed. They didn't put Nintendo out of business. They couldn't transition to Xbox Game Pass, the subscription model, right? They couldn't introduce their own hardware that would like put Nintendo out of business, right? Every third party IP they acquired and tried to like set up to be like the next big thing, Halo, Grand Theft Auto, Dark Cloud, like all of it has just fallen by the wayside and nobody cares about it anymore, right? Like all of it, they took on Nintendo and they failed. Is kind of the mindset I'm in right now. And the cope that a lot of people have right now is that, like, oh, Nintendo's going woke. Actually, they've been woke forever. Treehouse has been doing this, and this. Yeah, but Treehouse doesn't make the games. Now, do they? Like honestly, like if Treehouse like really gets more control over the localizations and starts like doing really messed up stuff, like yeah, I would just like stop supporting the English releases and just get it in Japanese, right? Like when it comes to this kind of thing, it at the same time though, like when you compare that to what everyone else is doing. And like we're in the tail end of like woke culture now. Like we're at the point now where everybody is sick of it and everyone is making fun of it. Like, the non-binary female thing has completely fallen flat on its face, right? People are like noticing things, they're calling out problems, it's becoming more and more normalized to call people faggots again. Like, woke culture has come to a screeching halt. And there are going to be people who like try to keep it relevant, like kicking and screaming, but they're gonna be fighting a losing battle. I think. I do think at this point, like once you get out of the education system, like there is no continuing like the illusion that woke culture is somehow an enlightened philosophy, right? Once you get into the real world, you understand that the economy, like how working a job works, how owning property works, and like all like the communist ideals that are like shoved in your face throughout like the public education system and especially in college, like eventually, assuming you're not a complete fucking retard, like you will begin to understand that things are working out fairly well for the majority of people, right? Like people complain about like, oh, the millionaires, but you don't really need all that money, all that much money to be happy. You know, like you don't need to have all that much to be successful, right? Like the way things are set up now works perfectly well. And that it's the same with the gaming industry. Like everybody is complaining about like all how all these games are getting worse and worse. And I ask myself like, well, why are you still buying them? You know, like when it comes to what I was doing, you know, I was buying the stuff from developers that I genuinely enjoyed, that I had trust in. And for the entire past decade, I have had nothing but great experiences. You know, playing something like Star Fox Zero was a massive, phenomenal experience for me, right? You know, an amazing game of the year 2016 for me. And like so many other people just you know, decided to play something like mid, like Doom 2016 instead, and then the sequel Doom 20 to Doom Eternal, and then they're just like, oh, why are games so bad now? Because you played bad video games. Okay, like that's the issue. Is you got the industry that you deserved. You got the industry that you supported, right? Like this is the end result of your buying habits is that you no longer enjoy this hobby because you haven't been supporting the good developers that still exist, by the way. It's not just Nintendo. Okay, there are plenty of like other smaller developers that are putting out bangers. Like for me right now it's Falcom. Everything I've played from them has been great. Like the worst game I've played from Falcom has been like East 9, Monstrum Nox, and if they just put more time into it, like it would have been great. But I just anyway. But yeah, I've been getting into Falcom recently. Fantastic developer. There have been like other examples of that, particularly from the indie scene. So like, why exactly are people getting so hung up over like AAA games aren't good anymore, man? Just don't support them. You know, like that is all you ever have had to do.